Hello everybody, welcome in today. Lost Primar Gopher Painting Moo Juice, welcome in guys. How's everybody doing today? How was your weekend? Your work week, I hope it's all been good. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to have to reach for some things here. So, today we're going to be starting on some Emperor's Children. So I was sort of working out all that I need to do here, and I think I have it all, at least relatively set, at least some of my base colors. So we're going to start that. Oh, hey, Zen, what's going on? No, I do not need anything. Thank you, though. So, said, must hope we have a good day. Responded with, have a day. Jeez, that's weird. So we're going to start with some metal trim, all the metal trim. And the color I am going to use will be something different. And something I'm trying to do is avoid the use of washes if I can on these minis, just for fun. So I'm using Pro-Acryl Magnesium. That's my color. It is a warm, kind of greenish brown, silver color. I'm gonna see how this looks, and we can highlight up. We got a lot of this on the palette. We got 20 of these minis to base coat, so we're gonna work through it today. I had a pretty serious debate with myself about what color to base color these minis, and it was going to be either pink or black. I finally settled. I just settled on black. I think there's just a lot more of these minis that are black, and I think I have enough good pink tones to cover in a coat or two, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. So if you didn't already see, I did finish the Fellblade. Fellblade photos are in finished projects on the Discord. And I also posted a new YouTube video. We're talking about Thousand Suns. I guess this was more just core rules type stuff for Heresy. And 20 of these probably take a while. Spending a lot of time on trim and random secondary colors. I paid for a project because we can't trust the person over it, right? That's too bad. It was like a group project or whatever, or what? Hey, Starlit Misfit, how you doing? Welcome in. Thanks for coming to chill. I'm just painting. I'm starting on base coats. I have 20 of these Marines. I think 10 of them are called Infractors and the other 10 are called Tormentors.
First of all, let me take just a moment
So
to
we
thank you
got
for allowing me back into your home.
a lot of progress to make. Oh, thanks for following. Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you had followed before. So, did I say something? Get his backpack in a minute. Let's finish up on the trim, and this is just the first mini. Backpack and weapon. It looks like. I have to decide if I really like this magnesium or not. Will it be okay on its own with some highlights? Or is it too dark and ruddy looking? That's the real question here. Sagittars being finished. I'm on to my Votan infantry. Nice. 10 Hearthkin and a Kitbash call. Very nice. Well, I'm excited to see you paint it because your Sagittars looked incredible. Do you have any like different pieces? Is there like a different method for your infantry? Or are they just kind of how they are? Painting is a Kitbash with Dreki Flint. Is that the Aegis? Is that an Age of Sigmar mini? Is that what that is? Yeah, okay, okay. What's up, Quishy? Order a bunch of Drop Fleet stuff? Nice. Very nice. Yes, I'm gonna put this down. Maybe I'll do one with Let's just dark silver and see if I like the dark silver better. Not totally sure I like this. Nuber Gaming, welcome in. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, just settling in to paint for the day. Probably to paint a lot of silver for today. I don't think I'll be doing much of anything else. I have 20 of these minis, and it's taken me about 20 minutes so far for the first one, so I'm sure some will be faster. But I'll be happy if I can get this color done. What's up, Butterscorch? Count finished project, see what it looks like painted in the old scheme. Okay, sure. I'll take a look in a minute. You built a Morphactor console. Very cool. Take all the dreadnoughts, right? I think that's it for the silver. You know what? This mini actually painted this whole piece silver. So, but we'll use it. Some other pieces here. Any tips on magnetizing a rot hail for my plague? I don't know what a rot hail is. I'm sorry. I would say though, finding a flat spot. Is it fixed or what? Hey, welcome, Des. How you doing? Some leg trim here that I missed. Okay. Is that everything that's going to be that silver color? Maybe? It's a triple barrel weapon. Okay. Are all the barrels one piece? It's probably a lot easier to magnetize when all of them are the same piece. You know, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this color. I like this silver. It's like gritty looking and I can highlight it up with some silver, some steel. It helped us stand out nicely without looking too bright and colorful. So we're gonna stick with that. No, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I've not magnetized a Nurgle Mini before. You said to find like an easy connection point, right? Like a flat connection point. And Misfit, yeah, your call looks really good. I assume it's like the axe and maybe the backpack are some of the pieces in his head. Okay, mini number 2. Okay, cool. Cool, yeah. Yeah, post some pictures. Maybe Pam would do a Kirby crackle on the axe again. Okay. Yeah, yeah, the crackle's really cool on it. That's good you're keeping that. Or redoing it, rather. Just working? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, alright. Well, hopefully your day hasn't been too difficult. I have the privilege of coaching my son's soccer team tonight at their game. So I did not sign up to be a coach. Didn't necessarily want to coach. But my son's coach is out of town all week. And they have all their like playoff game or games going on. So he asked me. I'd coached with this guy before, so he asked me, and I guess I get to take over. Get to be a coach. I'm a little nervous. I think it'd be really cool if they won. I'm not necessarily expecting their team to win, but it'd be cool if they did. Some picks, cool, cool. Check them in just a moment. Base coats on minis tend to get really tedious. I think the metallics are usually the worst of it. I'm hoping getting these done, this base coat done first makes my life a lot easier. It's the pain and suffering now, so it won't be as bad later. All right. What you got, Newbert? Where'd you put the picture? Oh, okay. You DM new pictures. Okay. I gotta be honest. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here with the mini. What I'm gonna say is it looks like that first picture is a relatively flat area with like a square kind of peg. Drill that square peg piece out into a magnet-sized hole, and then glue a magnet on. Like cut the peg off of the piece where that inserts, and then glue a magnet in its place. Lady at the LGS says hi. Oh no. Who is that? Is somebody I know? Hello. Hello, lady at LGS. Do you just have like my stream playing while you're like shopping? I'm in the car. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Man, with how many Magic cards you've bought, you could have had that nice account at this point, buying stuff under your own name. Yeah, sure, yeah, sure it's lies. Like every day you're like, yeah, I bought more cards. Yeah, Newbert, you sent me those pictures. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at, but what I'm going to tell you is it looks like the flat surface in the first picture has like a square peg hole in it. If you drill that out to the size of a magnet and then cut whatever square peg is meant to fit into that spot and you glue a magnet there, that should fit a magnet and be good to go. That's basically what I see from that. Hey Zen, whenever you get home, do you want to do a favor for me? Do you want to look up some of that new terrain and give me an idea of like the amount of filament some of that stuff takes? I guess I'm more so curious if it takes more or less than the last set you printed. I was checking out the pieces. I guess I have to download different software, like slicing software, to figure that out. I was messing with it last night and I was like, it's late, I'm not going to bother with this. So I just kind of left it. Anybody doing anything fun today? Alright. I think that's 2 down. Let's grab number 3. It's a knife guy. So I've painted a lot of generic Marines for people. Generic Chaos Marines. I've painted a lot of World Eaters. Painted a lot of Rubrics and Thousand Suns for 40k. Now I'm painting Emperor's Children. So I have never painted Death Guard. I have Solution? Nice. Anyone know how to read Nielsen ratings? Not really. No. Years ago, my wife and I got a letter in the mail from them asking to be part of their surveys and stuff. And I had never heard of Nielsen ratings before. And it's weird because they just straight up send you a dollar bill in their intro letter. And they're like, here's a real dollar to prove that we're not messing around or whatever. And which sounds like a scam, right? When they just put a dollar in the letter. But then they explain what they want to do, and they ask you to do a survey, and they tell you they'll pay you $5 if you do the survey. So we did the initial survey. It's about your TV viewing habits, and we did the survey, and it's a week or two later, they sent us a $5 bill in the mail with another request, and that request was to put a basically a tracker on our TV to monitor what we watch for rating purposes and stuff. And we were like, nope, this is a scam. And they offered to pay us to do it. And looking back, I would have totally done that. There's no reason not to do that. They're just giving us free money. Not like we watch a lot of TV anyway, but that's pretty funny. We just thought it was a big scam. Scanning groceries, yeah, and they pay you for it, and it's not a ton of money, but it's pretty decent little pocket money for not doing anything, Yes, Mydro, of course I claim that on my taxes. I think I am some kind of rich person that can just not be honest about their taxes and get away with it. Gotta report that dollar. So yeah, weird situation, but also full of regret. Not signing my life away to Nielsen. Continue working. That's only the third one. I just got to keep telling myself this color is going to take longer than any other color. If that's called media math. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, we got the legs. This dude just casually got a syringe on his belt. It looks like a perfume bottle. Typical Emperor's Children. These minis look really good. I hope I can do them justice. We're working on, I missed that. So these are Emperor's Children, 40k Emperor's Children. This is a commission I'm working on. So just getting down first base colors here. Yeah, and I have a squad of Infractors and a squad of Tormentors. So we got 20 models we're working on at once. And I think when we finish these 20 models, then we'll jump over and we'll paint. I got a dozen Noise Marines to paint. Okay, we get everything. I think we got it all. Did I get? I always miss these little pieces. Okay, 3 down. Checking that we go. Okay, thanks. Next one, another. These guys are the Infractors, right? The sword and pistol guys, the despoiler looking dudes. If I were playing Emperor's Children and Horus Heresy, I would totally buy 1 or 2 of these boxes to make up different units. There's so many good bits out of this set. And even the bodies work well too. I think they're all just Mark 6. At least in the armor types are like a modified Mark 6. The helmets are kind of all over the place, but They also are very Emperor's Children. How do you work around the arms crossing the torso? Do you keep them separate and glue? No, I glue them. I don't like to paint in sub-assemblies for like 95% of the stuff I'm painting. Tanks are different because you can like turn the turrets and everything, and like that kind of makes a difference, and the sponsons are replaceable and that whole thing. But most minis I paint, it's if I can't see it, I can't reach it. If I can't reach it, I can't see it. And if I can't see it, the person like with the mini can't see it. So there's no point. I know some people have like that anxiety about like, if I know it's unpainted, I won't be able to deal with it or whatever, but I absolutely do not have that. I think anyone who knows me could vouch that I'm an out of sight, out of mind person, like to the extreme. So, yep. As you should, Mydril. As you should. Shouldn't worry about things you can't see, right? At least not in a mini painting sense. But I'll know exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. It'll be like your little secret with your minis. You're terrible for that. Yeah, a lot of people are. Yeah. A lot of people just can't handle it. And I understand the sentiment. But I'm telling you, I'm going to give you guys 3 words or 2 words. We'll do 2 words, or I'll be even simpler, to help you remember to get over this this issue of worrying about parts of the minis you can't see. Okay, if you're ready. If you need to write it down, that's okay. But if not, it's just 2 words. You can hopefully remember 2 words. You guys ready? Stop it. Just stop it. That's all. That's all you gotta do. Just stop. Get rid. What's the rip for? My stream cut out, or is this rip for anybody who doesn't stop it, or who needs to stop it? That's all. you guys are curious, the color scheme I'm going to use, it is going to be similar to the studio colors. So if you want to see lots of pink being colored, there will be a lot of pink here. Hey, John Lockridge. Oh, you're Sandy. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Anybody remember that Mad TV skit? Oh, who was the comedian? He was a guest star on the show. Pink, yep. Be painting pink. The woman goes to a psychiatrist's office. She tells him she has a crippling fear and anxiety over being buried alive in a box. Yeah, comedian guest star Zendron. No, it was not Zendron. No, this actor was slightly older than Zendron. It was a comedian. He just passed away like last year. I can't remember his name. But she goes to a psychiatrist and she tells him you have a crippling fear of being buried alive in a box. And he listens very patiently and everything. She tells him all about it, and then he says, okay. He says, I'm going to give you 2 words. That's going to help you. And he's like, it's all we need, just 2 words. And she gets like a notepad to write it down. He's like, I don't think you need to write down just 2 words. And he just tells her to stop it. And that's what he does. And she's like, that's not helping me. And he's like, just stop it. I don't think I'm doing leopard printing on any of these models. They're not that kind of Emperor's Children, apparently. Anyway, that Mad TV skit has stuck with me for decades at this point. It is probably my favorite Mad TV skit. Because he even has like a whole setup, like he charges for a 5-minute session. And then after that, it's completely free. You know, within 5 minutes, she's out of there, right? But she starts yelling at him, and he ends up telling her, he's like, all right, he's like, I'm going to give you, it was like eight words or something that, and he's like, you can write this one down. And he just yells at her, and he says, stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box. That's just how he ends it. Funny gags. Just didn't know where to quit. I loved Mad TV when I was younger. Like the first, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 seasons of Mad TV. I think it was way funnier than SNL. But I don't know, maybe it went downhill. I just kind of stopped watching it. But like they had like a really good original cast and everything. Okay, we got the silver on this guy. I think we got all the, I mean, calling that silver is a bit of a stretch, but, or magnesium. Yeah. Man, I did love Mad TV. Miss Swan, yeah, Miss Swan was great. And yeah, a lot of Mad TV cast just went on to like just have like really good careers, it seems like. Even like Key and Peele, right? Their start was on Mad TV. They were kind of later. That was I wasn't watching Mad TV at that point, but I know that's where they got started, but yeah, there was the guy, it was like, I think it was called like IPS, but he was like the delivery guy, like the package delivery guy, like the UPS guy. It was played by Phil Lamar. He's always jumpy and like, you know, pretty convincingly autistic. But I worked with a guy just like that. It was terrifying how similar he was. Hey, T-Slayer, Blue, what's going on? How are you guys doing? Working and lurking, yeah. Good deal, good deal. We're just very slowly but surely putting on a metal base coat on these Emperor's Children. So with my research. Oh, nice. Oh, well, there you go. Can't you use like an archived internet source, right? I'm not sure how to look those up, but I imagine you can probably use that tool in some way. Next couple days we'll really get some color on these minis. The silver, gold, pink, and then I think we're gonna do some greens. Some pale, like whites or something. Pale grays. We got some flesh tones and a couple other things. And we start getting all the highlights on everything. Helmet. Yeah, Space Marine Terminator with the Tusk look cool to you? Yeah, yeah. Those are cool minis. I agree with that. Nice, unique touch. You magnetize the weapons. Oh, nice. Congratulations. It's a very useful skill. These backpacks aren't as egregiously overdone as most of the other Chaos Space Marine backpacks are, so that's nice. There's no fleshy bits on them. Right, we got that. That's taken care of. I think this one's done. So that's number 5. Quarter of the way there. Blue, did you see the finished fell blade? Hey, Phaedrus, what's up? I'll post pictures in your Discord this afternoon, Blue. But I did take some nice pictures and post them up last night. And Culture America, what's going on, guys? How you doing? Margarine on my. Oh, okay. Okay. Get out. Get out, cultured American. See, you've moved yourself to the status of I read your comments quietly before reading them out loud. You people have that kind of privilege, I guess. Oh man. Uh You were tossing and churning all night. Yeah, I bet you were. What are your thoughts on the Undead Horde? I'm loving it. I'm loving the Undead Horde. I'm always a big fan of an Undead Horde. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, I was thinking, whenever I jump back into painting Vampire Count minis for myself, I think I might look into the Black Knights and Graveguard style minis they have now. So the, I don't know, Barrow Guard or whatever those minis are called for AOS. And some of those characters, the new characters they have, really nice looking. A Vampire and Horse would be really nice to have. And a Mounted Banner would also be very nice. Mounted BSB. But I was kind of thinking, it's like, man, if I were to do like a good guy Warhammer Fantasy Army, what would I do? And, you know, randomly thinking about this off and on for a while, but I think I came up with my answer. So if I were to play the old world and not have vampire counts, or I were to collect a second army or something for that game, my army would be the Empire of Man. So the humans, basic Renaissance time period humans, and the color scheme. The reason why I would do that faction is because my color scheme, I would make my army an actual army of the Empire and not an army of any particular state. So a lot of people will paint their armies like, hey, here's my army of Nuln or Wissenland or Telebeckland or Middenheim or whatever. Like, they do that. I would make individual units of state troops and like regiments from different areas of the Empire. So I'd have a unit of swordsmen from like Midland. I would have a unit of halberdiers from, you know, Talabheim or whatever, Talabheckland. The great swords would be like Kerberg great swords with like the red and the black. The crossbowmen would be from Stirland, and they would be like green and yellow. And so I would have an actual like army of the Empire and I think that would look really cool on the table. But it would also give me like a story to tell while I'm playing a game. You know, like once again the Sterlinders just completely failed and can't kill anything. You know, they're a terrible shot. Or you know, the line held, the Midland swordsman held the line. You know, and that kind of thing. It's just like how a normal army of the Empire is presented in lore. Yeah, and I would totally like look at like, you know, like Nuln is known for like their artillery and guns. So, you know, the artillery crews would definitely be from Nuln, right? So they'd have like black and, you know, I think like white accents on their clothing and everything. That's kind of how they would be. My knights would be, you know, different knightly orders if I had different regiments of knights. So I do like Knights Panther and like Reichsguard and different stuff like that. I think would be really cool. Yeah, Kislev is pretty baller though. Yeah, I would definitely want some winged lancers if Kislev came out of it as an army. Also, incredible song. But yeah, I think that would be my idea for an Empire army. Whenever you read books and like Warhammer Fantasy had to deal with the Empire and fighting, it was always like, you know, hey, they have this big threat, so you know they put an elector in charge, and then they basically drew their army from all over the Empire. And so you came with these armies where everybody could pick out the different regiments and where they're from based on, you know, their uniforms and stuff. So if I could do that and you tie it all together, you know, with like the weapon colors and the painting style and everything, I think it'd be fun. Give me an excuse to paint a lot of different colors and to take time on the individual units. Yeah. Anyone crazy enough to actually wear wings into battle should be feared. Yeah, it's true. Retoning the Empire and models are just comical? Oh, sorry. I am not as much of a fan of the Empire State Troops compared to like the classic Empire State Troops that they had like way before. Even the minis that they sell now are old, but the ones before that I like a lot better. They're much more like professional looking and not like goofy, like weird, dirty, and shoeless. Yeah. Okay, let's get his head. Butterscorch, I'm working on a Skitarii cosplay. Oh, cool. All right. Just all over the place with your hobby, aren't you? Okay, I think we got that. That's number 6. Just 14 more to go. Let's keep going with the sword guys. One, two, three, four. Okay. Okay, that's the last of the The Skaven are terrifying, though. Yeah, they're comical, but man, they're scary. You mean dude isn't wearing armor? Is that what you're saying? Oh, shoes. Yeah. Yeah, the so the Empire minis, the State Troop minis, I know there's like one of the sculpts that's not wearing shoes, and I swear if I got those, like I would sculpt shoes on the guy. Because I remember seeing those for the first time and being surprised that the designers went that route, because when they talk about like state troops of the Empire, they're like professional soldiers. You know, like that's their whole career, is being a soldier, and the state employs them, and like you get paid good money being a soldier, and you know you get all this expensive uniforms and gear and everything. And the fact that they would make a model without shoes to me was ridiculous. um, but the Bretonnians not having shoes makes a little more sense. But even though, like, yeah, in reality, like, no one's, I mean, you think no one's going to walk around barefoot, but I mean, it happens in real history too, where soldiers just don't have shoes, end up fighting barefoot. But that's normally like a big breakdown. AOS is more serious. See, I don't see AOS as more serious. AOS to me is more goofy. Everyone has shoes. Not everybody has shoes in AOS. I'm pretty sure like half the armies don't wear shoes in AOS. So Fedros, you're saying that AOS is serious to the characters? Because I feel like Warhammer Fantasy is also serious to the characters. Like, I don't think many people are having a good time in Warhammer Fantasy. I think whatever comedic elements are in Warhammer Fantasy are still in AOS, like Skaven and Greenskins and all of that. Yeah, I think it's more the goofiness I see as someone who doesn't know the lore is more in the miniature lines. Like just how like absolutely over the top and ridiculous it gets, that looks like just a GW attempt at like, we have to copyright everything and this is our opportunity to do it. So they can't just have like a dude with a sword and shield. it has to be like 8 layers of separation from that, so Games Workshop can legally copyright whatever, however they misspell shield to make it copyrightable, with the equipment that the person has. And to me, that makes it unserious. And it's so like it feels so like corporate driven instead of like people that actually like the game, or like the setting. It's like the suits up above told people what the lore is going to be because they can control it from a legal standpoint. So Bugsy about it. Factions like Skaven, Orcs, Beastmen works and it's fine. Human armies it doesn't. None of the elf armies are that goofy. Are we talking about fantasy? Yeah, no. The eagle pulling the chariot is the worst example of a model in Warhammer Fantasy. That poor thing should have never happened. And I think it's one thing to be like, yeah, this faction's called this. It's our setting and we're going to call them this. But it's more like when the whole setting feels corporate driven and not from like any point of like, man, this will be a great setting. From the outset, it has looked and felt like GW dumped Warhammer, because it wasn't selling or whatever. Like is what it is, but it's very much like a legal decision because they can't copyright the word elf and they can't copyright the word dwarf, but they can copyright, these other words. And it'd be different if the setting had those to begin with, or if there was like some basis of like lore for it. But yeah, it just feels like everything I see for Age of Sigmar, it just feels like it's like a corporate decision. That's how they come out with things. Hey Groovy, what's up? Yeah, and that's not to mention like the absolute over the top nature of like every sculpt that has to go into AOS is just completely ridiculous and over the top. And like you can't, like what happened to just having like a person with a weapon, and instead it's like, again, you have to have like 8 layers on top of it. And alright, we're gonna put some more color down. New camera, trying to figure out how to mount it. Alright, good luck. Yeah, the detail creep. AOS is taking the detail creep way too far, though. Like, I'm not a fan of the detail creep on any of it. I think it's like more anti-hobbyist. All the detail creep. Again, it's just marketing. Like all over, the detail creep is just a marketing strategy. Because the Studio Mini looks cool when the guy has 6,000 skulls on his belt or whatever. But I don't think it's good for hobbyists when you're selling a game and if you're wanting people to paint the minis. No, I don't like the over the top. Fantasy was getting there toward the end, and I was not a fan. I stopped playing Fantasy in 8th edition because it was like every army gets a big centerpiece monster, and I didn't like that idea. I still don't like that idea. I do like big centerpiece monsters, but I don't like the idea that everybody has to have them. And the big focus on that kind of style turned me off of like GW for a long time. Details are okay on minis. But I think we all understand like the difference between a detailed mini and detail creep, right? Like I mean, yeah, detail's great. I am fine with detailed minis. That's cool. I like when there are things on the mini that can be sculpted well, and even if that takes longer to paint, that's fine. I think the difference is I don't like a lot of details GW puts into minis that don't need to be there. Like how is a very minor example, but if you look at like newer GW tanks, there are no flat panels on the tanks. And like, cool, it's easier to paint the tanks when there's, you don't have to worry about like putting big like flat areas of paint or whatever. But also to me it's unnecessary. We don't need a new angle and a separate armor plate every quarter inch or whatever. And I can't use transfers when we're doing that, but they'll cover like every monster, or like basic infantry are probably the most egregious one. And I know Age of Sigmar is it's borderline criminal with Age of Sigmar, where the basic infantry just have so many details where you end up spending hours and hours painting a single mini, and then it's like, all right, I got 20 more to do for the unit. To me, that's like, it's demotivating. Yeah, that's fine if you enjoy the sculpts. I have nothing wrong with that, and I don't, it doesn't bother me if people enjoy this stuff. But I don't see Age of Sigmar as being more serious in any way than Warhammer Fantasy was. Warhammer Fantasy, in my opinion, had about as much goofy moments as like 40k does. Now 40k has had a lot of time and energy setting itself as a more serious setting, but that's mainly because Warhammer Fantasy was dead for 10 years. So they're locked in a time capsule of 10 years ago when, everything was kind of a similar attitude. But my views are shaded so because I paint, my views are shaded. Doesn't that mean I know more about oh, okay. I feel like I would have a better opinion about this stuff. Being someone who paints. Yeah, that is a good pun, though. Yeah. I just started getting involved with model game development around 8th edition 40k. At least according to Rick Priestley, it's why he left. Yeah, interesting. I just think the conversation on detail creep was stupid. The more armies I did, the more I understand. I'm cool with detailed HQs, but infantry, yeah. When it's every single model in your army, and you're painting, you need to paint 60 models for your army. It's too much. It's too much for a normal person. Like, it's a lot for me to do, and this is what I do every day. Like, someone with like a real job and has like a family and like other obligations, and then GW's like, yeah, paint this. It's 100% they make those detailed minis because they look good in advertising. It's a marketing decision, not like a um, long-term retention of hobbyist decision or anything like that. It's arrogant. Well, what's arrogant about wanting people to be able to paint their armies? I guess I don't quite understand your reasoning, Phaedros. Isn't the same why they paint the models, so they aren't completely transparent about the process. What do you mean? What do you mean with that, Pum? I mean, and Phaedrus, we're all allowed to have our own opinions about if we like minis or not. I'm not saying that you can't like minis because I don't like them. Oh yeah, GW definitely doesn't use GW paints to paint their studio minis. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't like. If I'm sounding judgy, I apologize. I really don't like Age of Sigmar, but there's a lot of reasons I don't, and I know a lot of people like it, and that's cool. Um, yeah, I think overall GW and their decisions with minis, I don't agree with. And this is as some, I mean, I work with a lot of GW minis. I feel like I have a pretty reasonable opinion about that, but I still like detailed minis, and there are plenty of over detailed minis that I like. But yeah, I'm not gonna say someone's opinion isn't okay because they don't agree with me on it. I will voice my disagreement though if I disagree with your opinion, but it's just an opinion. I'm only judging with Space Wolf players. That's true. Yeah, which is probably like six of them in chat. Yeah, and I'm not commenting about anybody's like painting work either, you know. Yeah, and I don't think I ever once hinted that anybody's particular work looked bad when they painted minis or anything. I hope I didn't put that idea across. I think my thought is, way back when GW used to make minis that a normal hobbyist could sit down, and that was myself included. Like, I grew up with this, and I had real jobs before I did this thing full time. You could sit down in an evening and you could possibly paint a whole squad of minis, or you could get a lot done. And to me, that's more hobbyist friendly when someone is able to do this hobby outside of a full-time job and not have to like spend weeks painting a squad, or feel like they can't do a good enough job because they can't get all these tiny little details on the minis that have all these details sculpted into them. And for a long time, Games Workshop put in, they still do, they put in a lot of bits of like extra details you can put in your minis, like purity seals and little knives and pouches and stuff like that, and that's great. But when that stuff all gets sculpted into the mini, to me it's more difficult for anybody really to paint these minis and have them done in a reasonable time, let alone people that have actual lives, not just people like me that sit there and do this all the time. Better the paint you are, the more the detail creep and such affects you. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's a fair assumption. Because you're saying like a lot of people probably just don't like focus on those details at all and just kind of skip over them. Is that what you're kind of saying? It's glossed over most of them. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always personal preference, right? Yeah, and again, I do not like. I'm not saying anybody's opinion is wrong. And if you're fine to skip the details and spend more time on another mini, then that's on you. Yeah, monopose is kind of its own problem too. I think GW does that more for like ease of access to the games, but and like gameplay balancing and stuff. 100 skulls in a mini. Professional painter will fret over highlighting every nook and cranny, where someone wants to paint for gameplay, slap some bone on wash. Yeah, but it's different when it's like, yeah, there's 100 skulls on a mini. Of course, someone who wants to highlight is going to take a lot of time. But when it's like you have a pouch and a holster and a gun and 3 different knives, and the person has their face out and you can't put a helmet on them, and they have a big top knot on like this guy does, and they have nose rings, and then their backpack has skin on it for some reason, and all their legs are different materials, and they have ribbons hanging from every other corner. Like that takes time. That takes time with anything more than like a minimum effort. And that's not, I'm not talking about, oh, I have to go and highlight all these details. I'm talking about a mini takes, instead of taking 5 colors to get a basic standard on a mini and having your mini ready for tabletop, you're taking 12. So that just equals time. It equals time and it equals money ultimately also when you're having to buy all these extra paints. But those kinds of things are the things I'm talking about. And if you just want to skip over like the different textures on the legs being different things, like that's fine. If that's not your jam, then it's not something you worry about. But when there are built-in pieces into the sculpt of the mini that are going to be at kind of a base level different colors from everything else on the mini, that's extra paint time. That's the detail creep I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about like, oh, he slapped 100 skulls on a mini kind of thing. Yeah. Like the Corn Berserkers, all the Corn minis, the new Corn minis for 40k, those are all a egregious example of it, where they look cool. They're fantastic looking minis, and the problem is there's no like my problem with painting them, and this was after painting an army of them. It's not the man, I need to highlight all these details and I have to do all this. It's that every model has some very set parts about it that mean that I can't pick a color to base coat and then pick another color to do after that in like a reasonable flow. So you think, okay, Berserkers, you paint red and then you paint gold for the trim, and then some of them have arms out, so you paint their skin. It wasn't like that. There was tons of trim on them, which is a thing, but it was every model had separate chains all over them that hung at different points. They had like little leather terrages or straps or whatever that were all over them. They had skulls. There was, they had pistols, and all the pistols had trim on them. There was skulls on the pistols. There were symbols. They had, bear heads and helmets. They had, like their arms. All their arms had little ports that they plug into their power armor that were parts that, in a reasonable way would be painted. Yeah, it's just it's that kind of stuff. And those World Eaters were, yeah, those are some of the worst. Some of the Genestealer Cult minis were also pretty bad because they all have grenades, which a lot of the World Eaters minis had grenades built into the sculpts too. And so, yeah, it's a whole other thing to paint. It just all these minis just have so many extra little greebles. That's the detail creep. It's like the necessary things. People want to put detail in their minis. I'm all about it. I'm not a fan of being forced to paint all the crazy details if I don't want to. And I don't think anybody should. But the sculpts, like everything just being part of the mini, is the problem. Pistol holster, helmet, spearhead bits into. Okay, into the pile of skulls. You're going to send me? Sure. Okay, Blue, I'll do it. Brown pouches, metal magazines, yeah, bone skulls, yeah, it's just all the different things, yeah, and all that stuff adds up. And Phaedrus, I'm not sure how long you've been in the hobby, and I don't want to presume anything, or but there was a time when you would get a mini and you could paint a mini in just a few colors and have it and put it on the table, and it was like a reasonably painted mini. But if you wanted to go further, you would just put the extra pieces on, you'd paint it further, or you would spend extra time painting those pieces that you had. Yeah, optional bits are great. Yeah, because I probably would just leave them off. Yeah, the some of the Space Marine, the Intercessors in particular, are a kit that held kind of that old style philosophy of they don't have much on them, but you can put all the options on them. So that would be an example of like some of the pre detail creep. And if I'm not mistaken, that Intercessor box, they don't even have purity seals sculpted into the minis, which is different from a lot of the newer Space Marine kits, which do. And I'd be curious if GW releases an updated version of that kit, how they would handle that. Or if they'd keep it simple. "21 years. Yeah, okay. You remember the flat surfaces. Okay, okay. It's the end of third. Yeah, that's when I jumped into 40k, was the end of third. I'd been playing Middle Earth and Warhammer Fantasy right before that. But nice, yeah, yeah, 4th edition. Tau had just come out. I saw the Tau minis in a White Dwarf magazine, and I was like, these are the coolest things I've ever seen. Blood, Drool, and Fire. Yep. Oh, Groovy, yeah. The unnecessary smoke on minis. Cause an asthma die, yeah. Yeah. Dude just blazing away. Yeah, yeah, his helmet just full of, yeah, just lit joints. I remember playing, when I was playing Warhammer Fantasy, I had a Dark Elf army. And I had 2 older brothers. My family didn't live in a very big house. So my parents very graciously set me up a desk where I could paint in peace on my own. And it was out in our garage. And I took full advantage, man. I had got in that garage just paint minis. And I wouldn't even listen to music. I didn't have like a radio out there or anything. I would just, this is pre smartphones. I just hang out there in the quiet and just paint minis. And yeah, it was cool. I'd play Warhammer with my friends one week, and I would secretly buy a miniature, and I would have it painted by the next week, um, to be ready for our game and show up with something new. Hey, Estrella, what's up? Because of no longer being able to redeem the fallen angels. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't get to torture anymore, so he just smokes his life away, doesn't he? Back in '89, yeah. OSL with a solid object, so with transparent flames, definitely not newbie friendly. Yeah. Again, his miniature, Asmodee's miniature, Asmodee, looks incredible. It's an amazing looking miniature. When you're the one actually painting that miniature, it doesn't feel so amazing. For most people. First painted minis on my painted my first base chocolate bedroom floor with a Sony CD player. Nice. All right. 8. It's number 9. My first minis were Middle Earth minis. They were Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, and they were Moria goblins and the elves in the men of Numenor. Those minis are still for sale. That was 2002 when I got those. Yeah, I didn't know you needed to thin your paints for like 10 years or more. 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years sounds about right. Oh man. And honestly, something I'm a little disappointed in, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this company or not, but Mantic Games came out. One of the founders of Mantic Game it's Ronnie Ritten. He's one of the Games Workshop founders. Actually, he left and he founded his own game company, his own miniature company. Mantic Games made kind of a knockoff Warhammer game called Kings of War that was actually a really solid game, and they made minis, and the minis were not great looking when they first came out, but they were simple, and you could paint the minis really quick. They had that good classic Games Workshop simplicity to them, and I had quite a few of the skeletons I got. I would use on my own Vampire Counts army, but I'd also play Kings of War because that game was so easy to pick up. It still felt like Warhammer. It was great. Well, unfortunately, Mantic Games has definitely gone the detail creep route as well, and you can see that with a lot of their minis. And also, like, I feel like the miniature style that they use, like the actual like style of their miniature and their setting and stuff, is very much an acquired taste. And I was hoping they would really like modernize and make some cool looking, more, I guess more grimdark, I don't know, more realistic looking items, which I know is a stretch to ask for and everything, but as a personal preference, I was kind of looking for that, and they just never quite delivered on it. And so I never really got further into Mantic Games IP. Yeah, I've seen Space King. Yeah, they put out another thing about like ad thing. They sell like 80s themed lunch boxes and stuff, and incredible. The opening scene, like the opening bit to that third episode that came out a couple weeks ago, about the guy that was making a girl into a like one of them, and how everybody reacted to that. It's how I feel whenever like female custodies come up in conversation, because there's just like a subset of people that just go ballistic about it. It was really funny. I was dying through that whole thing because like I feel like I see that so much. Box the Chaos Dwarfs army and built Bull Centaurs. A parody of a parody originally, anyway. Yeah, yeah. Setting on eBay. Yeah. Ronnie's still at it. He's pushing Halo Flashpoint. Yeah, I have seen the Halo Flashpoint stuff. Yeah, I do still get their. I get weekly emails from them just to kind of follow what they're doing and everything. I know they have like an epic 40K game that's just came out or is in the process of releasing. Night Trap, no, I'm not. I'm putting on base coats. What's going on, man? The wild looking spaceships? You're talking about Drop Fleet. Drop Fleet Commander is the game you're talking about, Crucial Blue. I think that's the one you're thinking about. Because there's Drop Fleet Commander and there's Drop Zone Commander. Drop Fleet Commander is a space battle game. And I think the general premise is one side is working toward landing troops on a planet that's off in the distance, and the other side is trying to stop it. And then the other side, which is actually the original game, is Drop Zone Commander, which is like a smaller than epic scale game with destructible terrain, where one side is landing troops on a planet and the other side is basically defending against it. I think that's kind of the general premise of playing that game. So you have like landing craft and ships in orbit and everything, but you also have like tanks and infantry and all that in the game. Big box for Drop Zone Commander. It's pretty fun. Yeah, yeah. Look through 2nd to 5th edition Space Marine codexes. Yeah. Say anything about no girls? Yeah, I know. I know. Like I said, Phaedros. It is a subset of people that go ballistic whenever that topic comes up. And they just can't handle their fantasy made-up setting. Potentially hinting at having things that doesn't work in their headcanon. Sure as Custodians group I'm part of seemed to go nuts. Yeah, it was 3 people were allowed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. How's 10th edition going? No idea. It's about to be done in about 7 months, so... I haven't played 40k in a little over a year at this point. I tried 10th edition, it was alright. Not my favorite. I have been just all in on Horus Heresy lately, which I have been enjoying a lot. And yeah, just having fun with that. So Shatari ship to paint? Yeah. Yeah, those are like the more organic looking ones, right? A lot of like the crazy round shapes and everything. Asking anyone who's playing. Okay, yeah, if anyone's got opinions about 10th edition. Play casually and you're enjoying it? Okay. So he's modified genetically. Told us just a little about it. Immediately thought, good. Female custodians are available. Yeah, yeah. The character seems cool. The one that they've talked about and shown in the show, right? Was it the Tithe? Was that the show? Almost done with number 10. Just 10 more to go. Ballistic makes their 4. Yeah, yeah. I honestly think there's some major issues societally about how people interact with other people. I think a lot of it has to do with social media and its prevalence and you know, this newfangled internet thing that all the kids are talking about. But I think it's affected how we socialize and people's ability to socialize in a very negative manner. As I talk about that streaming from an internet social media platform. But go talk to people in real life, guys. Hey, Dadalorian, what's going on? Yeah, and the speed at which information travels, I think, is used for evil a lot more than it's used for good. Negative information just gets around so fast. When someone's unhappy about something, it sounds like the worst thing in the world because, you know, 3 people agree with it and their voices get magnified. Then you stop spreading that hate. All right. Hey, did you ever look up those prints? Or are you still driving home? Okay. Alright. I've been doing pretty good, Dadalori. How about you? What have you been up to? I'm just painting minis. Painted a big tank, finished it. It's in the finished projects in the Discord if you want to check it out. But I'm working on next commission, painting some Emperor's Children. Being impatient, it's been like 2 hours, dude. Phaedrus, I think overall, I think I agree with you there. And I think people in real life, even if they care, it's not like something like these aren't things that like normal people care that much about. It doesn't dominate their life, you know. But when we see it get like magnified on the internet, and when we're all perpetually on the internet all the time, makes everything worse. Oh, someone needs something? Yeah, can you bring me like a cup of coffee or something? Thanks, man. While you're out. A Powerball ticket? Yeah. Okay. A lovely perk just for me, Blue. Jeez. Round, it certainly circles. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Phaedrus. Interesting. Yeah. Way smaller. STL themselves are 20 to 100 kilobytes each part. Bigger wall sections in the Ruin pack were... Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So the files are smaller. That's good to know. All right, so we got the first 10 done. Now we have the next 10, which are the same dudes, except they have guns instead of small guns and swords. All right. Maybe a one for Christmas. Nice. Yeah, from my observer experience, not user experience, it seems really easy to use, but I've just been sending Zen files and he prints them for me, so. Oh, Zen, I saw something. I'm about to find a link for this, or if you can find it. I'm curious your thoughts on this. The Solari factory, the like base where I get my bases for my Thousand Suns, that company. They are running a crowdfunding campaign on My Mini Factory for a modular 3D printable board. Not a board's worth of terrain, a board. And so what it is, and they have all these different sizes and stuff. Same as cartoons are made to sell the toys related to them. Yeah. How can I get the desire to paint? I haven't painted in like a year. Pick a mini, or it depends. Are you painting to play a game, or are you just painting to paint a mini? If you're painting to play a game, pick a squad or a vehicle or a character or whatever for your army. Put it on your table. Clean your table up. Get some new, water, clean your brushes, all that stuff. And then tell yourself that you're going to put one color on that mini. And then try to do that every night, just one color. You just got to make yourself do it, and eventually you're gonna be like, well, I have time to do a second color, I'm already sitting here. And I think eventually you'll kind of work back into it. That's my advice. In a new area? No longer by my gaming group. Oh. Do you have like local stores near you? Find if you can find like a Discord group or some way to find people. Probably a way to find people or you know, get some games scheduled, then, you know, trying to get something new painted for a game or something. So this game table, they have you printing a like support structure that locks in, and they're in 8-inch by 8-inch squares, and they have like smaller like half squares if you need to make different size boards and stuff. But you basically lock all those frames in, and then they have like tiles that cover, and you can print tiles that are flat, you can print tiles with like hills in them and stuff, and these tiles lock on top of the supports. And I was looking at it, and they have an estimation on everything it takes, and to make a 6-foot by 4-foot board, I think they said around 17,000 grams. So 17 kilograms. Which, if you're buying cheap filament, that's about $170 to print a board. Which sounds expensive, honestly. It's on the cheaper end of it. Yeah. You're probably looking at closer to 200 plus, right? Nah, that sounds like a lot for 3D printing a board. Yeah, Phaedrus is right. If you got Facebook, you God help your soul. You can look up the city name. Yeah, just Warhammer. What do you use for miniature bases? For my 3D prints, T-Slayer, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about these things, my holders? Try to find a local group. I got nada. Yeah, that's too bad. Sometimes you gotta walk into your local store. If you got a local store, and just start asking the people up front, like the person at the cash register, or the owner of the store, or something. I mean, I get it. I don't like talking to people either, but sometimes it's what you gotta do. Plywood is more than it should be, but yeah, especially when you're gonna 3D print this board and you still have to paint it, and you have to do like the legwork on it still, right? So I don't know, $200 for a board that you print, and a lot of times we think of 3D printing, and Zen, I don't know if you think of this. I kind of think in this way, but maybe it's because I print like miniatures and it's different. But a lot of my mind is like, hey, I'm paying $10 for this file, and that file will pay for itself, right? If I print this many X amount of times. And so it ends up being cheaper than the alternative, which is buying full plastic or buying multiple plastic sets, or whatever. Where when I pay for this, which is cheaper than buying it outright, and then I can print it a couple times because it's cheap. This seems like, I don't even know how much the files are. I didn't even look at how much the actual files cost, but I feel like the cost is all materials for this board. You're printing an entire game board, and that, to me, I don't see like that kind of return on investment thing that I normally have when I look at 3D printing. Oh man. That's my question. T-Slayer, what you got? Are you talking about what I mentioned with like the base toppers that I use? Or are you talking about like these, or how I base minis? How are you? What exactly is your question there? Guess I'm not totally sure what you're asking, T-Slayer. Walk in, walk around the island to the back. There's like 4 tables, movable gaming table, and racks of terrain. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think they said it was like multiple weeks worth of straight printing for all that stuff. And it's like, cool, the 8x8 frame is 150 grams. Like, that's nice. But then you need 54 of them to make a 6x4 table. That's a lot. Especially as something of dubious durability, then it seems like a lot of setup time. Or like a mediocre looking table in the end. That you could probably do a lot with. You'd probably make it end up looking really good. What to look for? Oh, okay. That's right. Okay. Sorry, Phaedrus. Sorry. I'm having like 3 conversations at once. Can't keep up with all of them. Oh, no, you say, yeah, okay. It depends. I use all different kinds of things when I base minis. A lot of times I like to use just like texture paint. So I know Vallejo and Monument Hobbies both make really good texture paste that you can use for that kind of stuff. I also really like its Geek Gaming Scenics. Geek Gaming Scenics, their base ready material is really nice because you kind of pick like a nice looking style. You don't have to paint over it or anything. You just kind of use like a quick set glue and you dip it in this stuff and it dries into something really nice. You just seal it and you're good. So that's really nice. My Thousand Suns, I 3D print base toppers. And then I paint the base toppers and glue them on a base. And then just glue the minis on top of there. So I have a couple different methods. Ask when there isn't a TCG night, and that's the Warhammer night. You're probably right, yeah. Okay. We get all we needed. I think we did on this guy. That's our mini number 11. Texture paste I want to try. It's still sealed. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully it's still good. That stuff has a tendency to go bad, even when it's all sealed up and everything, so... Okay. Next one. It's a plasma gun dude. Telling myself everyone we get this done now, we don't have to do later. $13, no big loss. That's true. That's true. I get like that. My interest kind of waxes and wanes in different games. Yeah, I've just been definitely hyper focused into Heresy for the past 7-8 months. Arliss building tends to lean into Highlander builds. You must be purged then. Yeah. Two plasma gunners, two melta gunners. And then a sergeant with the power sword. And a bolter. Okay, so in the stuff in a DM, let's see. 650, 220, 804, 808, 600. All three obelisks. The ziggurat 20. The ziggurat's 2 kilos. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because that ziggurat you basically multiply it by 4, right? For the most part, like whatever's on there. It's a big piece of terrain. Okay, good stuff. Good to know. So it's not like significantly less. Some of the stuff is more, actually. Now, is that with the same infill as like the other stuff? Yeah, the ziggurat's it's essentially the unruined version. Yeah, it's not the same, but yeah, it's similar. And I'll get some food. All right, sweet. Good luck on the Blood Knights. I am excited to see them. Have a good one, Phaedros. This was great chatting with you today, though. 5% infill and 6 top levels. Okay. Good to know. I wonder how big those buildings are. I was trying to compare them to the corner ruins. And I guess they seemed comparable. About the same size as everything else, yeah. Sweet. We're painting trim first. I'm going to fill in with magenta on some certain pieces. I'm going to go through each of them, try to make each of them look a little more individual. But that's going to be for another day. There's no way I'm finishing another 8 minis after this one of this silver. Not the next half hour. Yeah, so we're painting this magnesium color on the trim right now. And then some of their armor plates are not black, they're like a very pale pink. But I'm going to base coat them with magenta and then try to highlight them up to a pink. That's my idea. Because they're Emperor's children.
First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your home.
Hey, Tequila Dave, thanks for following. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Just working on starting some base colors on these Emperor's Children minis. Oh yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. What's up, Helchorn? How you doing? Got about another half hour on here. I'm going to try to get as much of this metal done as I can. You in the hobby, Tequila Dave? You paint minis, play war games, anything like that? Burnout after armies on parade. Probably not in the mood to paint for a while. That's fine. We all need a break sometimes. $50 Tyranids in 4 days. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I'd be burnt out too. The armies on parade board looked awesome though. Hope it was worth it. Just building and painting mostly. Haven't dipped my toe into tabletop gaming quite yet. Okay. What kind of stuff you painting? What kind of stuff you working on? I paint a lot of minis, but if it were up to me, I would just be gaming all day. Okay, I think this guy is done. It's number 12 of 20. We need to put some more paint down. Usually paint one mini every 3 months. Yeah. For me, Warhammer game, like tabletop gaming, would be my preferred thing. I would take playing Warhammer all day over video gaming all day. Started Dark Angels, took a break with some Tyranids, and got interested in painting Seraphim. Dang, alright. Hey, that's cool. You also seem to like your bright colors, so... So respectable choices. up. I am painting. I'm using this color here, Magnesium from Pearl Krill. It's like a silver with a bit of like green and brown in it. All right. Yeah, if I had time to game every day, I probably would be playing 40k at this point. 40k Heresy, Old World, Middle Earth, all kinds of stuff like that. Exclamations in a gash. That's cool. That's really cool. I have some Votann to paint after this. And then I might have a holiday box or two to paint. 40k holiday box. Gonna see how that works out, but that could be a lot of fun. Sub-assemblies are always sketchy to me, though. Yeah. It never fits quite as well after you paint it. Quick question. Marsatox? What's up? Citadel paint that looks kind of gray and dry. There's a way to bring it back to life. Maybe a thinner. Any tips you'd recommend? So, I'm going to assume your paint of choice is a Corax White. Is that the paint? You can kind of bring it back to life. The product I recommend for that is you could just try water, but that, I don't know, you probably have varying results with that. I would recommend a product called Flow Improver. There are different brands that make it, but Flow Improver should break it down. It is Corax White. I called it. That paint is akin to cottage cheese at its best. So, yeah, Flow Improver is probably the best you get. Corax White is a really bad color though, and it you're only going to help that paint so much. As much as I hate to say it, I'll show you. Here's the bottle I use, Flow Improver, and this is by Winsor & Newton. Winsor & Newton Artist Acrylics, Flow Improver. So there's Flow Aid and Flow Improver. Both of them will probably be fine. The thing I like about Flow Improver is that it slows the dry time of your paint. It's kind of hard to read these, but and it's very thin and fluid. I go through bottles of this stuff. I really enjoy it. Like what it does to thin paints. Yeah, but if you need a different white whenever your Corax White inevitably does die, I do recommend Monument Hobbies. As a Corax White replacement, I recommend their color Bright Neutral Gray. And I can show it to you here in just a second. I'll show you. I use Pro Acryl for about like 95% of my painting, just because they flow better, they have better pigment. I don't have paints drying out on me, and they are cheaper, and you get more in the bottle than you would with. Use the dry brush. That's fair. This is Bright Neutral Gray. This color. It is essentially Corax White, or is very, very similar in tone to Corax White. And I use this a lot in conjunction with their Bold Titanium White, which is probably the best white acrylic paint you can buy. So these two paints, you mix them together, you get a nice bright color, you highlight with the white, you get your perfect like white tone. But Bright Neutral Gray from Pro Acryl by Monument Hobbies is a great replacement. I was once struggling to paint on Corax White for months and months until someone convinced me to try out Monument Hobbies. And I did, and I had them. I had those paints for like 3 days, and I was like, yep, I'm selling my GW stuff. Scale 75 has a nice white. You can thin down a lot before it starts causing problems. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, see, I had a Vortex mixer for a short time, and I hated it. I did not like it. Yeah, I ended up returning it. I don't think it mixed paint. It was just an extremely loud table vibrator in a very poorly mixed paint. And with the paints that I use anyway, I know Jason, the guy that runs Monument Hobbies, he actually said not to use a Vortex mixer with Pro Acryl. Yeah, I had ball bearings in all my paints. Yeah, but I try to mix like Pro Acryl paints, they wouldn't mix. I try to mix my contrast paints, and they wouldn't mix. So Jason, the owner of Monument, actually said not to use Vortex mixers with Pro Acryl because you'll overmix them, and it can cause other issues for the paint. And I don't think their paint ever really needs a Vortex mixer or heavy mixing anyway. I've never had a lot of separation issues with their paint. Some of their greens separate quite a bit, but if you store them upside down or on their side, they're perfectly fine. Starting to switch over to Pro Acryl. Nice watch, Captain. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. How many attachments you got for that massage gun, Cultured American? Chemical lab refurbished. I want to have my paints is just adjustable powered. Yeah. Yeah, man. I bought that vortex mixer and I set it on my desk. And I tried to use it. I was like, there's no way this would go over in any capacity on stream. You know, I talk about I never airbrush on stream because it's obnoxious, like it's loud, and I also wear a respirator when I airbrush and everything. But like that vortex mixer is way louder than any airbrushing I could do. GW toxin, yeah, glass beads, yeah, and GW paints. Well, guys, if you're newer to the stream, I appreciate you guys coming to hang out, and you can always drop into the Discord. We have a really good group in Discord. I love seeing your guys' work. I love seeing what people are painting and what they're working on.
First of all, let me take just
it's a good way to stay kind of updated. Mars Talks, thank you for the follow. I think this is going to be the last mini I work on today, and I'll show you guys what I did. This was 3 hours of work here. I have 2, 4, yeah, still 7. Yeah, 7 left. But we did the trim and initial metal on 13 minis, and that's it, just 13 of them. These are Emperor's Children Kilocam. Emperor's Children. I live in Ohio in the United States, so it's early afternoon for me right now. But yeah, we're going to paint 20 of these guys, and then we have 12 Noise Marines we're going to paint. And that's going to be what I'm doing for this commission. So, be a good time. We'll see how much we can get done this week. I might try to finish the metallics tonight on my own, then come back and we can just start on some of the more exciting colors. I'm liking the magnesium color that I've been working on, though. From Florida, all right. Some call Ohio the Florida of the Midwest, so I understand. Let's find someone we can raid. Oh man, Glorious Badger's painting Heresy again. Southern Florida, Crazy City. Yeah, okay. Oh man, he's painting pumpkin kilocans. I want to see the pumpkin kilocans. This is also someone I have never followed, so sweet. Let's go check out Plate Smasher. Let's go say hi. We're gonna raid in, and guys, I just ask that you say hi, give them a follow, show them support. You know, kind of do the nice Twitch things. I will be on tomorrow around 11 a.m. provided everything goes well. I got some crazy things happening in the morning, but they might be smashing plates. I don't want to get your hopes up. It may be a thing, but thank you guys for coming to hang out, and yeah, I'll be on tomorrow. We're gonna continue on these minis. So you guys have a wonderful afternoon, wonderful evening. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.